This week in action.
Another victory, Commander. I knew my faith in you was not misplaced.
Could be something. Talk to the developers.
Are you playing with my emotions?
Let's get sad and then
Too good to be true.
that's not what they did here. When's the money going? What other horror stories can come with this?
We love Tencent.
So, for today, we're going to talk about the poll that was out on YouTube this week about Last Epoch. We are going to talk some what I thought was Command and Conquer in Tempest Rising. We're going to talk some new PoE League, and then we'll end on possibly poll for next week, games we're playing. We will see where the conversation goes. Hello, Luz. Hello, Lady Medusa. Welcome to the podcast. Okay.
Hello.
So here we go. I'm going to pull up right now on my end the poll from last week. Now, this is what it was, okay? Opinion poll. Last Epoch needs this most. Last Epoch needs this most. And obviously, you can only cast one vote. These were the options. New Endgame system, finish campaign chapters, last 3 mastery classes, performance improvements, and multiplayer. Now, I want to be clear. In my head, I knew what was going to win, but I thought it was going to be like a blowout win, okay? So I was correct with which one won the poll, but I thought it was going to be 60% of people are going to click this option. And that really was not the case. We are going to start with out of the 5 options, what came in last, what people did not push, or I guess did not find that important. Coming in at 8% of the vote, and we had almost 1,000 votes, finish campaign chapters. Daft. Why does nobody care about finishing the story, figuring out what happens in that glorious lore?
I think in a post Path of Exile world where they went with 3 chapters for a majority of the life cycle of the game and then added 7 later, I think that concept of adding more content now is just as like, okay, cool, more things to do, but I want these things instead. I can do that once I've finished a game and played it for hours and hours. You can add more content and I'll be willing to come back. I think it's just not as exciting. People like it, but it's not, there's no gameplay involved in it outside of lore. Really.
Guilty. Forget Last Epoch. When you are playing a new game, are you going into town and talking to every NPC and reading and seeing what they say? Are you skipping the opening cinematic? Like, how do you play this style of game? Lay it on me.
I'll watch an opening cinematic. I'll watch cutscenes the first time. I don't care about, I know people like, oh, the story, right? Yeah, I don't care about the story at all. It has 0 impact. It's not a JRPG, it's an ARPG. Like, you play a JRPG for like 72 hours of story or whatever Metal Gear Solid 4 had. That style of game. But an ARPG is about building a build. It's about strategy. It's about coming up with crazy nonsense to do with the meme builds and all that. That's what that is. And then the end game systems. That's the core of this for me. I mean, other people might want to play and read. You can go and collect all the lore notes in Grim Dawn and read all those to me later.
They're fun. Get XP.
I haven't read one of those. Not one have I read.
Really? Oh,
Not one. I don't care.
Good. That's
I'll
okay.
read a book. I'll read a book.
That's fine.
Put it in a book and I'll read it.
So this is my take. Okay, this is my take. And by the way, hello, Flenzer. Welcome.
Hi, Flenzer.
How you
doing, bud?
This is a terrible example because I love this environment. Lord of the Rings, right? If it was a Lord of the Rings ARPG,
Mm-hmm.
I would no. the point I'm saying is like if it was an ARPG for Lord of the Rings and I knew nothing about Lord of the Rings, I just came from Mars, I would want to know that I'm Frodo and I'm trying to destroy this ring. That's about my knowledge. That's my knowledge of like pretty much every game I play. Oh, I'm trying to destroy Lagon because Lagon's bad. And, you know, like that. And Guilty knows how I play. Literally like, oh, I skipped the first 3 chapters because the game allowed me to skip the first 3 chapters. So now
Cleanser's popping in. He's got even an ARPG for the first time. At least I'll go through the whole story and read everything, talk to everyone. So the first time through, I'm kind of the same Flenser. I do the same type of thing. I want to kind of like, depends on the voice act. There's some dependencies for me. If it's kind of I might not.
But you didn't do it for Lost Ark. No way you did that for Lost Ark.
That's why, he might have. And Flenser might have too. So
sort of.
Games that I do that in aren't ARPGs because I know it's going to take me forever to get to Endgame, probably.
Right.
Especially the first time. And that's where I can start to experiment and do what my goal is in an ARPG, and that's to have a full build experiment with the full character, not just part of a character for 20 hours here, another part of it for 20 hours here. You put 100 hours into it, and you can get into halfway through the mapping.
Guilty.
And then
question for you. Stuff. For a very long time, I guess ongoing, do you know what one of the biggest complaints is for PoE?
Having to run through the story.
Having to run through the story for the 100th time for the new league. How many current
10 acts?
How many current players from PoE probably make up the base of people that play both PoE and Last Epoch? Daft, what percentage would you think? And again, this is opinion, I don't know.
Right. So ask your question again. It's because it was a little tongue twisty. Go ahead. Okay.
How many people play PoE that make up the base for Last Epoch? 20%, 50%, 10?
Have played. I'll put under have played, currently play. I'll put it in that. I'd put it like 60.
Okay. Lady Medusa says 30.
It's been around so long. I played it since 2013 and on intermittently. So there's almost 9 years of players you're going to gather. So it's kind of hard to miss that, herd.
Guilty. What's your thoughts?
About 40 or 50.
Okay. So let's just say 30 to 50%. How many of that 30 to 50% give a crap about Last Epoch's campaign story?
None. I'd say 0.
I'd say a small percentage. But
I would say an extremely small percentage. I think there's going to be people that are like, Flenser, like Daft, who it's okay. I will
part of the mechanic. Yeah.
First character, first run through. Let's see what I'm actually doing. And then, all right, now I'm going to skip it as fast as humanly possible. Okay. Campaign.
So Aaron.
What?
Are there any games where you will go into the narrative? Obviously, you and I play ARPGs almost exactly the same. We play for the same reasons too.
Right.
For me, these are Legend of the Five Rings. I can tell you the lore to that game inside and out. I can tell you the lore to Shadowrun. I can tell you the lore for all kinds of things. Just in ARPGs, I just don't care. It's not why I play them.
That's good. That's a good thing,
You know what games I could tell you the lore on? The ones that force me to watch all the stuff.
Okay. Oh, that's fair enough.
There's that too.
Fair enough.
Well, it's funny. Lady Medusa put scenes in Wolson. Wolson, you are required to watch those cutscenes where they put in your character, and then they're not terrible.
They're not bad, but forced.
Good cutscenes. Great every time too. Like every character.
Yes.
Okay.
They don't let you replay the campaign when you're done.
Right.
Yeah, it's locked because you've already you've beaten the world. There's no one left to defend.
Right.
Well, they have abandoned ship. We can talk about that later.
Oh, that's not a bad topic. Okay. If you're just joining us, we are starting with our weekly Last Epoch poll. We are talking about last Epoch needs this most. And what came in last was finish campaign chapters at 8%. Okay.
Last.
What came in
Last.
fourth? What came in fourth?
Dead last.
Performance improvements.
I'm almost surprised with that one.
I'm a little surprised too.
I thought it would go up higher.
Because it's there's so much complaining about it.
There's a lot, I lock my game at 60 frames per second. It runs better. So there's all these types of things.
So I lock my game at 60 frames too, just because when I stream it, it adds for a
Right.
much better stream experience instead of like
Exactly.
it going up and down.
Bleh.
So someone in the community, Dark Swift, got a new 3090 and he was running it on max settings. And I think he said he was getting 80 to 100 frames. Guilty, is that acceptable?
Well, no, but also that card, like I keep saying, guys, that's a dev card. They slapped the gamer tag on it and sold it to gamers. It's really a dev card.
But what are you saying? You're saying a 3080 would run more frames?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's not what it's for.
I know.
It makes me sad.
That somebody's spending
me
that much
sad.
money on a game. I
You
understand.
have diminishing returns on a 3090, like
Well,
massive diminishing
I don't know.
returns.
To be clear, not that it's part of what we're talking about. Getting a current used 30 series GPU,
Mhm.
some of these people are getting it 50% under MSRP. So if you don't care about the latest and greatest, the new 4 series, you're getting some steals out there. So I think that's the idea, is that this card was $2,400 a year ago. Now I'm getting it for $800.
Well,
So-
$800 is fair for it.
Yeah.
That's super fair.
A 3090 should
brand
take
new.
you 1440p for a decade.
Right.
Maybe not a decade, 5 years. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He's playing in 4K, but
yeah.
He's crazy. We have a couple comments. One from Lady Medusa saying they trust that there's still time for them to get this in comparison to what PoE did over their time.
Yeah.
So that's one's point of view. And Flenzer, he picked performance because he thinks it's pretty bad for the quality, where the game's at. It's not
He's
up to
right.
par. Yeah,
He's right.
I agree.
I mean, it is still technically an alpha because they have entire chunks of the game they haven't put in, which is why I voted the way I voted, which was for finishing those classes. I don't view this, if you want the finished story or whatever, that's fine. That technically is part of the game. But
Right now,
the
we're
real meat and
only
potatoes of the
talking
classes-
about performance. So Flenzer
Yes.
voted for performance.
Right.
Yes.
And it is interesting because I feel like it's like they've got, to Guilty's point, it's like they have a little of everything, but nothing is finished. And that's why in my head, it's like, is it all going to come together? And it's like, we got multiplayer. And now for 091, we got masteries and performance. Well, they say every
Right.
update is going to have dramatic performance improvements. And again, I can't really talk about it. And again, an NDA for what I was doing. They were
Right.
using their new heat map system, which shows every single level and what parts of the level are generating the worst
Right.
performance. And they gave us the side-by-side on what it was, what it is now, and what it could handle in the multiplayer experience. So if they literally do that for every single map, and then obviously use it because they've also isolated some enemies like the scorpion, lightning, and then that big guy that makes the boulders.
Particle effects on
Those
particles.
things, it doesn't matter what you're
Boom.
rocking,
Yeah.
the game
Yeah.
is jittery.
So the way from about Unity 4, I believe they had what was called the Shuriken system. I think that's what it was called back then. It's actually legacy now. They have a new proprietary particle system. It doesn't matter if you generate 3,000 particles, it's still going to slow your game down. So
Yep.
don't do that.
I guess in my head, and I don't want to beat a dead horse on performance. I know it's going to get better. I'm hoping the server side stuff with multiplayer is good. I hope it could handle a lot of players. But and this is a question for Guilty because you're experienced in this.
Yes.
The Unity engine is not a heavily graphic intense engine based upon GPUs, right? Like, and I know you hate it, but just for example, like if a studio is using Unity or they were using Unreal Engine 5, which one, if it was the same game, would need a better GPU?
Well, see, it depends. It depends on the shaders you're using. It depends on textures, tessellation, all that stuff. Like you could go and use Substance Painter, which back in 2000, let's say 17, that sounds about right. You could get Substance Painter 2, and that was the third party texturing software that was used in like Uncharted 4 and stuff like that. You could get that and use that in Unity and see really good results. Unity can look gorgeous. They've also updated their lighting system significantly since then. Like the reason our project has slowed down is because we wanted to take advantage of the new lighting system. You're not going to get the ease of use that Unreal Engine offers. You can get really good results if you know what you're doing. Whereas Unreal Engine is like, I'm going to say it again, it's like RPG Maker.
Right. It's made to look easy, but you can't do a lot.
I mean, that's I can't underplay it. You still need to know what you're doing in Unreal Engine to get a good result. But yeah, it's like
understanding.
It's going to look better in Unreal Engine 5 or whatever they're up to now, because it's new. Like they designed it specifically to look nice. And that's Unity is designed specifically to be usable.
But that's the question that I'm trying to get to. Obviously, a terrible, maybe Unreal Engine 5 and the best possible Unity could outperform it. But in general practice, looking at a game like Last Epoch compared to something,
it's CPU use too. It's Unreal Engine 5. Until Unity comes up with its next big patch, Unreal Engine 5 will technically be better. It can handle more things CPU-wise and GPU at this moment. More things can be tracked. It can do more things.
Should Last Epoch perform better right now?
Oh no! See, that's the thing. You have to know what you're doing. So they know what they're doing in Unity. If they went over there, they would be like, "Oh, this is the first time we've ever used this brand new thing."
Right.
So I'm gonna. So yes.
If all the stars and planets aligned, yeah. but that's not the point. Like, you can do the same things in Unity.
No, I think
technically not. The tracking of things. And
Guilty.
The impact it has.
Guilty.
You can't do that. Yeah.
Listen to me. Should Last Epoch, in its current state,
no. They should not change anything.
That's not my question.
The engine.
Listen.
That's where I thought you were going.
You're a poor listener. Should Last Epoch, after 4 years of development, using the same engine Unity in its current state, perform better than it does right now?
Given that I found out recently they have 60 people working on it, yes.
Okay. Yes.
This my opinion. They seem to be focusing solely on multiplayer.
Right.
And for all I know, there is a team of people rocking like their fingers and writing stuff out and making those new characters and putting together the last parts of the quest and all that other stuff. That probably is happening. Like Mike's not going to tell you everything in a stream.
Well, obviously.
Mike's not. It's all satellite. They honestly don't know what's going on.
Daft, go ahead.
I was going to say we have a CJ Lizardman, first time, I believe. Welcome. I just wanted to say he's waiting for multiplayer pretty much and adding a little bit of endgame content and completing the story, but majority seems to be, again, with the multiplayer, and to skip the campaign once you've actually finished it.
And that's what they want. That's the whole idea with the dungeons is once you play one character, once you start gathering dungeon keys, you could use those keys with other characters to skip the campaign.
So they are adding that in. Yeah. So that's a nice thing.
So question about, okay, with the way Path of Exile you have to run through and then you can start mapping.
Mm-hmm.
Will they allow me to skip that and just go straight to mapping if I do it one time?
No. You'd still have to go through, unlock your mastery at level 25, which legitimately takes, I don't know, an hour. Like
20 minutes if you're running like the way that Daft runs.
You can go through pretty quick if you
at that point,
run
literally
certain
once you
builds.
unlock your mastery, you're in the end of time. You can immediately start mapping in the monolith
you can.
if your
Yeah,
character
right.
can
At
do
level
it.
35.
Yeah.
I go in at level 35.
Yep.
Daft's the one that told me to do that.
I usually go in whenever I get all the totems. That's when I leave for a while.
All the idols, all the idols.
Our idols. Why do I say totems? Anyways, yes, the idols.
Because we
Once
were
I get
doing a
that-
totem build.
Okay, this poll. Last
Next.
Epoch needs this most. Last place was finish campaign chapters. Fourth place was performance improvements. And third place, third the worst, was new end game system.
It needs to finish. It needs to have a full game system before I can start working on it.
You know what? And I think that's that's kind of right in the middle, right? Because everybody's always looking for something new and fun to do at
Right.
the end. Right now they have 3 unique dungeons that are all different, that have unique mechanics and bosses. They have
Right.
endless arena. They have 4 campaign or 4 champion arena levels. And then they have the monolith with all the different islands. Is that enough end game to launch the game?
Yes.
It's enough to launch. Yeah,
It's
Most
more than
people,
Wolson.
exactly.
Yeah, well,
It's-
yeah, more than Wilson had. Wilson has more now.
No, they don't.
They
They have
really
a
do. They have 6 different end games.
The wart. Oh my, come
5 or
on.
6. Each one of those is that's technically a different. Each one's a different one.
The one
Sure,
where you
technically.
follow the guy in the circle until he reaches the
that-
end.
I hate that.
The
Oh,
PoE.
That's like that's like the POD delve. What or was it
No,
the
Delph,
mining
it's
or
when you
whatever?
go through the gauntlet
Or-
when you're trying to get your powers. Yeah.
Or the boss
What's the
fight.
gauntlet?
The war table just has a boss fight, so you click on it and you just fight I literally go in, max level, it's dead
2
in a
seconds.
second. 2 seconds, it's dead.
Val Nova comes in, says people still playing Wilson. I don't know, Aaron. What
it's-
is the current count? It's been
it's
About
pretty.
150.
No,
Yeah,
it's
150
1
That's my
month.
guess.
It's 1 month peak on the weekend after controller support was 350.
But
Hey,
what's it now? It's like
It's-
150 now, right?
I mean,
Went back
last time I saw it, it was like 100 to 150. So yes, there's still people.
there's
that-
people playing. I mean,
You know, it's more than it's more than people are playing Space Pope, so I can't really be very upset. I can't give them
But-
a hard time about it.
you didn't start with over 100,000 players and then
128,000. 128,000 players.
Yeah, and it's a deep nether right now.
You know what?
But you know,
I
more power
don't.
to 'em.
Everyone says they could do better, and I'm not gonna. But if I had 50 people working for me, I don't know how I would do it. It'd probably end up really bad. It'd
As
be
long
like
as you-
especially if I was like it was my first project, which may have been this guy's first project, is like lead designer. Lead designer is it just means head honcho, big boss,
Right.
la manager or L manager, however you want to say it. People are like, hey, this is an idea I had, and he's gonna be like, cool, do it, make it so number 1, and then they're gonna do the thing because he's at the top not doing anything.
I was
But
looking
he
up.
does-
I was looking up, since we're talking Endgame for this portion that came in third.
Yeah.
I was looking up the forecast for Last Epoch because I could not remember what it was called. They've got a couple things in here. Epoch's Call, Endgame System, Epoch's Call, Endgame System, Gates of the Memoriam, and Lost Memories. So I don't know how much. I honestly, I know some of that might have been announced already that it's been scrapped or not, but they have had 3 additional endgame systems.
The Lost Memories seems a little bit like 3.19 PoE League,
Well,
just a wee bit.
I mean, that's an older one though, right?
that was the
Lost
one
Memories?
that was from a year ago. So I just literally
Yeah.
did a quick search. I know they've updated it, but I think one of those has stuck. I think one of those 3 are still planned for launch. Yeah, it's something like that.
They'd have what 60 people working for them.
One
It
more
could be-
end game
there could be-
system. One more end game system could for sure round it out. And then I think Daft would really like this is that what they want, and just hear me out, this is something that verbatim came from a developer for 11th Hour Games, is imagine you enter a Echo and you know that race to the flag, the objective is top right. But maybe bottom left is a secret area. And
I
maybe
do remember that.
bottom left opens a portal to a special fight to get something special. They really want to expand the Monolith's endgame systems echoes to have hidden rewards littered inside that are random.
Right.
That you can go through. So now it becomes
That's literally a system we do in
Right.
SP. That is the actual hidden boss system.
There's a small game called Chronicon that has a system like that where you will find portals occasionally that lead you to another dimension or whatever. And
Same,
you go,
yeah.
And I think a lot of
Then you
games,
come back.
because that was something that they felt was like a miss, because you get into the monolith, you want the reward for completing it, so you immediately shift all the way till the end, kill, and you get out, right? And you're just doing that over and over again, unless you're actually hunting for boss drops, because then you need to build your stability up because you gain more stability, so you get to the boss quicker. Either way, that is something they want. And Guilty, would that be considered an end game system?
I would consider it. Yeah.
Or is that like a
Yeah.
sub? Is that a sub genre of an end
like
game?
like a mini game within the end game
So
kind of thing. Where you're
to
looking
put it
for
in
them.
perspective, from my own experience, the way we've done like an end game system, like just it just something that was added on. It didn't take for us, it did not take a lot of effort to come up with it and implement it. But for them, it might, because there is a lot more to their game than ours. Obviously,
Yeah,
we're just
sure.
a little rogue. They're a full-fledged ARPG. Anything. It's an end game thing. It's a new thing. For them, they'd have to balance it too.
And then this topic is so we're way off time, but it's fine. I feel like it's good conversation. Since
Fine.
we're talking endgame systems, Daft, would you consider this an endgame system? I know it's scrapped, but do you think the Bazaar would have been an endgame system?
Oh, good.
The
That's a
Bazaar
complete-
or something that they were trying to do, I think it would be.
Actually, wait,
Endgame
before you answer, this is what I think. I'm gonna run some monoliths. I'm gonna go try and hunt for some secret areas. Oh, someone thinks they can push farther than me in the arena. I'm gonna go over to the arena. Oh, I got this awesome exalted item that I want to turn into this unique to make a legendary. I'm gonna go run some dungeons. Damn it, I just can't find this item I need. So I'm gonna head over to the Bazaar and I'm gonna search some shops to see maybe I can get lucky because I have the currency to buy it, and I'm gonna see if maybe somebody has it. Is that considered an end game system?
That's no. I would. Okay, so no, I would not
It's-
consider it end game
You-
because
but
you could technically do it for the entire game.
Okay.
Unless it was open only.
I would consider it an
Late game.
economy system,
yeah.
which is part of the core game. I would also consider it overly convoluted and essentially doing exactly what's already been done by the PoE community outside of the game. Just do what they did, and you will do what the actual community wants.
They
Because
they
the
will not
community
do it.
Literally made that.
They refuse to do that.
They need
Yeah.
to read some books. I'm going to send them some books. I'm gonna send them some basic economics.
They refuse to have any system third party, with the exception, I guess, of Last Epoch tools, because I don't know, they can't.
No, they don't. No, I'm not saying third party. I'm saying make that third party system
in
that
the game.
community made in the game.
Oh yeah, that's possible.
That's what they want. That's what people want. They made it. They took the time to make that.
A true
Giggity.
endgame system would be
It's a
making
very
puncture
successful
bleed to
system.
poison damage, not make it cost mana. Giggity! Hello.
How you doing, sir?
The reason why I bring this up
Man.
for the poll is because
How you doing, person?
I remember D2 getting home from school in high school. And me and my friends would enter trade rooms after trade rooms after trade rooms trying to find gear. And it's weird to think of it, but that is part of Endgame. Trading, fine-tuning your build, getting that extra
Aaron?
5%.
Aaron,
What?
there's a small part of you that wants to play D&D with us. That's what that is.
No.
I don't think that's not.
No,
a
that's not what it is.
No,
That's
but that
not-
engaging. No, but listen, the kind of like engaging with another player, if you will.
I'd
and
have to
trying
be the lore master, you know? Or the dungeon master.
dungeon master. No.
I don't know if I couldn't handle that.
I'd be like, guilty! I will brain thee!
I mean, yeah, like he would be like, and a green
Oh.
lightning bolt for you, and a green lightning bolt for you, and a green lightning bolt for you.
Okay, are we good to move on? I feel like we're good, right?
Well,
What's
that-
the last? There's one more
wait,
part to
there's
that poll, right?
There's
two more.
two. There's two. All right.
What's the other two? The last
All right.
two.
But
Well,
let's
the answer.
all right,
And
let's go through.
or the Go
Last
ahead.
Epoch needs this most. Last place was campaign chapters. Fourth place was performance improvements. Third place was new end game systems. And coming in at second, the best.
yes.
Finish mastery classes last three.
That's what
Warlock,
That's what I picked.
Rune Master, and our tricky Falconeer.
Yeah,
the
mystery.
tricky. I really hope it's a charm class. I hope they somehow incorporated the charm features from like ARPGs into the ARPG, and you can have like
I mean-
people go attack each other. That would be great.
It's gonna
For
be.
me-
I think it's gonna be like Paladin. When you pick Paladin as a mastery, you get Holy Aura, and every Paladin uses Holy Aura, which is amazing. I'm sure when you pick Falconeer, you unlock the Falcon skill tree, and it is a constant that is on you because Holy Aura is always on you. So whether it's like this Falcon
Like-
that is on your shoulder or this Falcon that's circling you or whatever it is, that's
You're
how I
seeing it-
envision it.
You're envisioning the Falcon as some kind of like buff. It's just a constant buff.
I'm thinking of it like a pet for Torchlight that has a skill tree.
You mean Torchlight Infinite?
Yeah, no. Torchlight 3.
No. That's not a game. That doesn't exist. Because they're different. The pets are different, right?
They are
Giggity.
different. They are different.
Giggity's saying we can fly and become a Falcon.
Well, so I hope the flight is similar to what was in Lost Ark with the guns. Who was it that had the?
Dude, imagine if the Falcon's flying and you could like shoot an arrow up and it catches it and then you could like swing forward. Is that like wishful thinking?
Oh, that'd be cool. That would be a
that-
cool thing, and it could be done as.
It'd be
but, it would just be a mobility thing.
Well,
It
what
would
if
be
you
all
like
right.
kicked, like you kicked like Robin,
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know.
It would be an animation and a mobility movement, but it would still be cool. You essentially whatever they would have something similar to it would be like a fast version of Shield Rush.
Okay, this is not insider. I almost said insider trading. Well, I guess I did say it. This is not insider information, okay? In a video, I said I'm super disappointed because I thought the Falconeer was going to be the minion class of Rogue. I thought I was going to have multiple ballistas and maybe multiple Falcons, and it's going to be so much fun. I cannot wait for a ballista build that truly works. And I said I was super disappointed because it was like confirmed that's not what it is. Well, the developers
Right.
got back to me and all they said is you are going to be pleasantly surprised.
Well, good.
Well, I mean,
You or us or me?
I will be pleasantly surprised based upon what I want and what I heard.
See, all I get is a bleed build type character because it's
I
gonna have
demand
a
satisfaction.
falcon that pokes and does things. It'll be
Well,
bleedy.
it's not a minion.
So hold on. So you gotta remember
I
that
know.
they stick
So what
pretty.
is it?
They stick really true to the formula. All right. You have Sentinel. Sentinel has Forge Guard. Primalist has Beastmaster.
Right.
Acolyte
Sorry to
has
interrupt.
Necromancer. Go ahead.
Giggity has a the poison spec of Falconer. Better let your Falcon throw acid flask.
Yeah, didn't he say? Yeah, and look at the one above it. And poop acid flask.
Yes.
I mean, either way, that would be cool if you could like throw acid flask further.
No,
because
I'm
of,
not
like,
breaking the
set burn.
NDA. I don't think so. Wizard
let's hope
or
not.
mage. Mage doesn't have any kind of. So
Think real hard
mages-
before you say what you're gonna say.
Mage's Rune Master will be traps. Which is a form. I'm sure it's going to scale with minion damage, right? Traps? Probably?
like AOE trap shot,
maybe not.
Something like that. Which is
runes or something you cast on the floor, and they
which
have
is so
different
weird
effects.
to me because when I think of Rune Master, like that does not like traps doesn't, but it's going to be like traps. So Mage will have Rune Master for traps, and then obviously the Rogue would have the Falconeer, which uses ballistas. Like it makes perfect sense.
Huh.
All 5 classes would have a minion, would have a powerhouse, would have kind of a tank or range style. So I don't
There's Valanov 01. Imagine something more like the Inquisitor runes from Grim Dawn. So yeah, like
oh,
like
you brought up
AoE, like-
Grim Dawn, so now Guilty's
You
gonna
have to.
start going off on everything.
Oh no, we're being contacted on Twitter. It's fine.
ah,
I am
A graphic designer wants us to hire them.
graphic. Oh, the people I get hit up for that all the time. People are always trying to replace Daftly. Okay.
They
Second
don't know we
place
have
for
a
the
Daft.
poll. Second place for the poll was the 3 mastery classes. Daft, Rune Master, Falconeer, Warlock drops tomorrow. Which class would you play?
probably Falconeer.
Just because you're so intrigued, right?
No, mostly because I swap between Acolyte and Rogue as my 2 like kind of like go-to characters. I was talking to Guilty earlier about playing Druids and stuff. Beastmaster, it's like the bottom of my list. So between the 2, I think because Warlock I've played so many Acolytes, I think I would just want to like experience what the Rogue 3rd class is, or Mastery. So I think I'd pick that.
I have a feeling Guilty probably has the same response. Rune Master, Falconeer, Warlock. Which one do you pick first?
I really, 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 really want to play the Falconer. However, I also really want to play the Dark, what I am calling the Dark Monk.
Is that the Rune Master or is that the Warlock?
I don't remember which one it was, but I remember we read through what they were saying. I'm like, that's a Dark Monk. It's an anti-monk.
I
I
don't
want
know.
to play that class too. It was the one where they made like the shapes and whatnot.
Rune Master.
Yeah, Rune Master. I think that's Dark Monk. It could be something completely different.
This
but
might
way
be
I
the
read
first
into it-
time we've ever had this conversation ever where we're all different. Daft would play Falconeer, you'd play Rune Master, and of course I would pick Warlock.
I was Falconeer until I decided that I thought that was a Dark Monk class.
Now, I don't know
I
why.
haven't seen a
Okay.
Dark Monk class.
So this also popped into my head that Rune Master, which again does not like in my head, does not envision in what it's going to be because that name does not make sense to me. But the Rune Master is not only going to be traps, it's also going to have golems. So it's going to be like a golem master, which should be pretty interesting as well. At least in
That
the
could be
lore,
fun.
in the lore that we read, it said it can command golems. So.
I mean,
Which is weird because you already have Necro inside of Acolyte. I don't know.
One thing is sure, at 1.0 or before, there will be new golem stuff in the game. Already confirmed because of your armor, which they streamed with you.
This is true.
This is what I will tell you. And Lady Menusa, this is not me breaking NDA. Okay? It probably is. Okay. Next update will have my new unique in it.
No, not breaking NDA.
And it's
They told
glorious.
They give you a choice.
Also, next update will have the new golem asset put into the game. So the new visual
That's cool.
in the
Into that.
game. And all I can say is that other stuff is different. That's probably breaking NDA. So golem is going to be super cool. That's why when 09 drops, I've already said I'm going to take a week of vacation. My first character will be a Necro. And, you know, I make a joke like, I will not stop. Of course I'll stop, but I'll play as long as I can until I fall asleep. And then I'll wake up and I'll keep playing until I find my armor.
Wow.
Well, you know where it's going to spawn because you picked it.
I do know where it's going to spawn. But it's going to be a
You don't know
rare
where it's
drop,
gonna
right?
spawn.
And a lot of times, you know, like I've never actually hunted for a Bastion of Honor shield. And there's people that have looked at it, looked for that item forever, and they've never found
Right.
one. And I have found 3, never
Hey, you.
looking for it. So that's how it always works. There's something you desperately want, you can never find it, and then when you don't need it, you know, that's just, then you find it. So
My
I'm going to. What's up, Dad?
I was just gonna say my solo stuff found Blade Dancer wants that shield.
Oh, well, yeah.
you don't use a
I'm going to-
shield for Blade Dancer. Stop
Oh, it
doing
doesn't
that.
die.
Him how to live his life.
It works so well. It's so fun. So much damage and so much not dying.
I'm forcing the future when we finally get multiplayer and the ability to trade, which will probably be 1.0. I'm going to get the set before him, and he's going to beg me to give it to him.
What
This
set?
is the perfect way things.
You mean my
not-
armor?
But your armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's possible.
Yep.
I have so many great
Gonna
ideas
happen.
for my armor. Again, you're going to be able to make 3, if not 4 golems without like a, it's not like you could make 4, but they do 40% less damage. No, you could make 4.
Yes.
Like you could just, like you can actually have full blown ones.
Right.
I remember the going back and forth between 11th hour games. Like we would, the story behind that is
Yes.
there was a list of things, and we're like, this idea, this idea, this idea, and this idea. And he would be like, no, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that, and then take the best ones and pass them on to 11th hour.
Yeah, it was fun.
You know, there was a bunch of hell no's, and then there were some possibles, and then they were like, okay, let's go with this. When it finally came to it, all the stuff we actually wanted, we really got.
I mean, literally the top 3 ideas we could have done. And then the idea we didn't really know of was the one we selected because I just felt it was too ridiculous.
Right.
Actually, that's not true. We really wanted corpse reanimation. So like,
We were told
That
no.
was
Yeah.
hard no.
Because they would have to make a new prefab
Right.
that
Right.
leaves a corpse on the ground that can be reanimated instead of having them just do their little ragdoll, nonsense and stretch into infinity, which I haven't seen as much. They
yeah,
might have
it's,
fixed that.
I will say, being that I've played
Very
Necro
few.
in pretty much every game I've ever played, not being able to explode corpses and not being able to reanimate a dead enemy to fight on your side sucks.
It's sad.
Well, it's just because they opted for that ragdoll effect that they're in love with, which, does what it does.
But do you
Sometimes
remember
it's
in
funny.
Diablo 2, you had the curse where the Necro could put it on the enemies and then the enemies would even fight for you for a little bit, and then when the
Yeah.
curse wears off, they try and attack you again. Like there's nothing like that. I don't think there's a single part of the game where the enemy is now on your side, whether you reincarnate them or you curse them, or it's just fear. You could fear enemies and make them run away, but that's the only thing I've seen.
So, I mean, they did mention, like, when they brought up the tricky thing for the Falconer, like if that does bring a not so much charisma, but like an ability to control the mind, I guess theme wise, if that just means that you can turn enemies against each other, that's awesome. I would love that.
So this is what's interesting about the tricky thing. And by the way, I brought it up to Mike in the last stream. I literally asked him, hey, because Mike was not talking about it. The lore master was talking about it. And that's what really like my ears perked up, because I'm like, wait a second, the lore master's explaining the last 3 classes. And it's like the warlock, like curses and blah, 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 rune master traps. And the Falconeer is going to be completely different. Nothing like you've seen in the game. It's going to be a tricky class. It's going to be really tricky. Like, I don't know another word to describe it other than like a very, very tricky class. And I know I keep using the word tricky because that's what comes to mind.
Word.
And everyone's like, you just said tricky 4 times in describing it. So then the next week I went to Mike and I was like, hey, what in the hell was he talking about? Like, why did he keep using tricky? And he's like, I don't know if that was the right word to use. I just think he was using that word because the class is so different.
Maybe.
Does he mean convoluted?
I don't know.
And is not released because of that?
Right.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Giggity in chat is asking, why can't we have idols treated kind of like the crafting materials? We have separate little place for them and you can filter through them. You can kind of do that in your...
It's because idols are an item. They treat idols as an item, right?
Yeah. You can go into your storage and type like cold, and it'll, on the tab,
it's
you can
not
click
as
each tab.
perfect as it could be.
It's not as perfect, but it'll single them out and you can kind of eye them over. And if you're slightly organized, you can kind of keep the same types in there so they're kind of next to each other.
They should have their own storage.
If you have like 7, I have 5 stashes, 1 for each class. Okay, listen to this.
Oh, well, I keep the highest ones, Giggity. I start to filter them down.
Yeah.
I'll pick the ones with the highest buffs and then trash the rest. I mean,
listen to this. You guys ready? The Rune Master.
Keep it all.
A savant who tamed the power of raw arcane, weaving its chaos with the art of runes. The Rune Master infuses magic into offensive and protective wards that devastate those who trespass them, ensnaring his foes, raising walls and golems at his whim.
The darkest of monks.
You know what he is? He's the Necro of Mage. He's the summoner.
He's clearly that dude from the Golden Child.
He's a bone wall necro. He's a bone wall necro from Diablo.
Like the red-headed enemy from Last Action Hero that's in the Golden Child. That's who he is.
Yeah, they're in chat. They're talking about all the items and a couple of hoarders. I'm a hoarder too, but I have like a super specific loot filter. So when I'm going through, I'm not picking up too much. I'm per character. I'll keep things that are useful for other characters, but since I have such a narrow scope on my loot filters, I don't get a lot of trash, so I don't get too much. So I pick through it pretty finely and dump the most, the rest of it.
Compared to something like every other ARPG with a loot filter,
right?
I find I have to be way more strict in Last Epoch currently than I do the others.
Because there's so much loot.
It's just they dump stuff on you that you don't want. That you don't want.
Giggity, when I think of Rune Master, I just think of the wizard with rocks floating around him with rune wards on them that do different things. Okay, moving on to the Warlock. Listen to this. No, not yet.
Warlock.
I'm going to read each one. It's okay. Warlock, a master of the forbidden arts. She tears into the essence of her foes, twisting and corrupting their spirits. Curses that dim the mind and break the body. The faintest word from her lips bear vile enough magic to snuff the life of her enemies entirely.
So that that goes into what I was saying with the the JRPG charm stuff. She could easily be doing what the bird is doing for the falconer. That could just be a new game system that we haven't seen yet.
Right.
Like,
I know. I just think this is why we're talking about it so much. So it's why it's up at the top of what people want.
Well, people, and it's also because you got to remember that these mastery classes were announced. This is like a Kickstarter, right? These are Kickstarter.
A while ago.
These are 4 years ago. You know, like.
Yeah.
she uses a left-handed mouse with her foot. The darkest of arts.
Dude, that is seriously, that is some dark arts. The Warlock is going to be awesome. Oh, I can't wait for that class. Last but not least, the Falconeer, the tricky class. Never fight alone, never fight fair. A master tactician who employs deceptive traps and the aid of a fearsome bird of prey. She survives due to her wits, ingenuity, and most of all, due to her falcon's loyalty.
Well, I have like 3 things that could be. I'm like, we were told it's not a minion,
Honey.
and totems follow under minions, so it can't be like a mobile totem.
Yep.
So it's like, come on now.
But this is what's so interesting is that for the Falconeer, it literally says traps in the description. Like it uses the word traps.
Yeah, but like,
where Rune Master says snares. I know it's the same thing, but you know.
I don't know. They've let a lot for the imagination on all these classes, so hopefully that doesn't come back to bite them.
The biggest problem they have is that we've been brewing on this for years.
We're going to expect a lot. You know what's also hard is how do they make these classes not so much better than every other thing out there too, right?
Well, that's where it comes down to balancing.
Everything will be a new asset. Everything will be their best skills in Unity. Everything will have the best VFX. Everything will have everything
visually.
But I mean, just in general, you know, they're going to have the most detailed skill trees. They're going to have the best visuals. They're going to perform the best, right?
Like when the Rogue came out and it was everything had to catch up to Rogue.
Oh yeah, Rogue was, and then new Void Knight was good too, you know, and then new Druid.
It's a. I don't want to say it's common because that would imply everyone does it, and they don't. But a common way to do the balancing is in Excel. We start with arbitrary numbers, and we take we'll test something out, and we'll multiply it, divide it by just having it until it gets to the right spot. And you do that through testing. The right spot's arbitrary, obviously, but you do that, and then you can use that one thing you came at as like a base,
right?
And you can kind of gauge everything else from.
All right, Guilty. I'm gonna give you 1 minute to answer this. Then we have to move on. Okay.
What's up?
Just tell me if this sounds crazy. Is it almost they can't make those classes as good as they could?
No. So
you hear? Okay, does that make sense?
It does.
Like
you can't be a new player.
Class is real easy.
You can't be a new player that doesn't watch this stuff, hasn't been following it, and it's like, why does the Lich look like something from Minecraft, and then the freaking Warlock looks like I just logged into Unreal Engine 5? You know, like I'm just using a crazy example, but you can't have it like that.
That's a pretty engine. It's very pretty, and it can do a lot of things. But at 1.0, which is the only thing that matters because we're all a bunch of nerds that are in this early. At 1.0, all the stuff should be in the game. All of the art, all of the animations, all of the nice shaders, all the lighting, everything. That's what 1.0 is. That's gold phase. It will look good. The people playing the game that aren't like on early access will see what they should see.
Right.
Hopefully.
That was not an answer. Do they make the
mean,
last 3 masteries to the best of their ability, even if it outshines everything else?
Yeah, you should, because everything else at 1.0 will be that.
But
That's your new standard. You need to bring everything else up to that. That's why I keep saying the game's in alpha. If entire systems of your game are not in place yet, you're in alpha.
Okay. Thank you, Rogue1337 for the follow. Dude, Warlock's gonna be awesome. Acolyte's just my jam. Actually, it's funny. Acolyte's not my jam. I've never made a Lich before. Just Necro. Never.
Didn't you do one? You tried one once. Is like
yes, it's level
right?
50 something.
Oh, that's terrible.
You know what's
That's
really
pretty
funny?
bad,
The actual 2-second story, and then we'll move on to number 1. Is I was a part of the live art stream. I mean, I wasn't like a part of it, but I was there watching, where they had the artist on stream draw out the new model they're going to be doing for Lich. And on stream, when I started streaming, I was like, once that new model hits, I'll play Lich.
Was it Pat?
Yes.
yes.
Cool.
And that never never came
happened.
to fruition. So
No.
the old day 1 Lich is still in the game, which is
First
They
just
just haven't put it in yet. It's
Oh.
it probably exists on their end.
I mean, I guess that's possible. I guess
Like
that's possible.
to put it in perspective, I had people testing on stuff that was on like really terrible art with like stuff missing.
And I
just to
think-
test systems.
And I think visually wise, you can see where they were and where they're going. Go look at the initial visual of Werebear compared to now. They're going to be adding in the new, they're going to add in the new summon bear. They're going to add in the new summon Sabertooth. They're going to add in the new golem. I'm sure they'll redo skeletons at some point, right? I mean, there's so much that was packs that they purchased. They purchased asset
Right.
packs that they
That's what I
didn't
was gonna
create.
say.
And that was the stuff that they initially put in. So now everything new is their own team designing it. So that doesn't happen anymore. Okay.
But you said just a quick segue. They have 60 people working for them.
Yeah, I think it's about
How
60.
many of them are doing
I don't know.
art? And by art, I mean you can't even guess.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Ask Mike, because that could be a huge chunk of their team.
Could be. Maybe.
Like
Lady
most of
Mid-
it.
They're always adding in new art, Lady Medusa. She was asking.
So
constantly, Lady Medusa,
Constantly.
So,
Constantly.
Mike on his last stream said after 09, don't quote me. Forget I said Mike. I heard it's too late. That on the next by the next
Someone who may or
update,
may not be Mike.
most art will be in.
Michael.
Most 3D renders will be in. So
So what was they made a distinction as to where they will stop with the 3D renders, right? Where
so
was that?
everything but body armor will.
Right.
So the idea is what they're doing is it's armor sets. So your shield will look like your shield, your weapon will look like your weapon, but the tier 3 armor for rogue will look like this. And I guess and I guess that's
The
not true.
Largest.
I guess that's not true. Your helmet, offhand, weapon. I don't think your boots and your boots.
The largest portion of your visible character in game will not
Right.
have what the 2D art is selling.
No, that would be for
Yeah, the chest art, your torso.
yeah. you get
That being
you go
said-
buy
The
nice
largest
looking
part of your
stuff.
body.
Yeah, they have armor sets instead. I don't know. I know. I meant for Aaron saying he wants new look for Lich. I do want a new look for Lich. I do.
Yeah.
They do have one, I believe, finished, and they just haven't released it.
I don't
They're
know.
Close.
That would be cool because I want my armor to look like how it looks on my character too. You know what? I'm
Nice.
going to ask that question. And by the way, earlier somebody, I think it was Lady Medusa, was talking about Shaman. Somebody brought up, maybe whoever brought up Shaman.
Mm.
I literally hammered.
It was-
For them.
I hammered 11th hour games last week on Shaman, and I got 3 answers back.
What are they?
And they openly admit that Shaman is not where it needs to be. They openly admit that they are going to be refreshing the character power, balance, and flow. They really said flow doesn't feel good.
Right.
So it's like, and it's true because it's like, stop, Tempest Strike, make totems, move.
Right.
And Tempest Strike is terrible. So they're going to restructure Tempest Strike. They're going to update it. And I told them, literally give me 2 storm totems instead of only being capped at 1, and give me a movement skill. You could just do that. I would be happy.
I would really, really, really like just
like a wolf rush or something.
I will rub the feet. I will get in between the toes. I just want to see. I just want to see. I'm not going to say anything.
Hey, by the way, they thought it was going to go in this update 085, but it didn't make it. Every single totem has also been redesigned. They look really good.
Oh, visually they're redesigned.
The visual on the new totems look really good.
Talking about the shaman, they're saying it doesn't, the flow. I'm guessing the way they make it work, obviously they're either using a state machine or they're using a series of if statements. And you can make things smoother in both of those. I would just really like to see how they've done it. Just really want to see. Bad.
It doesn't do enough damage. It doesn't have a movement skill that is fast.
Balance wise, yeah.
It's just doesn't. I mean, again, I tried to make it work when I was streaming, and we got to the point where we weren't dying and we were killing in a slow pace. But it's not super good. And my argument too, after at the end question, because we ended up getting to that Shaman's movement skill is Fury Leap, and it's like, why is Fury Leap not a great movement skill for a Shaman? And I was like, well, Fury Leap, the whole idea of the skill is you are leaping into enemies. Shaman is not a tank. So you're literally jumping into enemies that will kill you. That being said, they updated Fury Leap, where Fury Leap, when you drop, can cast Upheaval. And you can spec Upheaval into Upheaval Totem. So when you're jumping, you're making Upheaval Totems. And my thing for that was, that's great, and Upheaval Totem is awesome, but Upheaval Totem is a physical totem, and Storm Totem is spell and lightning, which makes you spec into a physical totem, which means the main skill for the build doesn't make sense. So we agreed on, basically Fury Leap could work, it just needs more totem utility. Yes. So
synergize a little better with it.
Exactly. So the conversation has been had, and I'm trying. Okay. Man, this is an hour and 10 minutes on the poll, but it's been great conversation.
Wow. Yeah.
It was pretty important. The future of the game that we all collectively came in on, I really, 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 really would like to see them not screw it up.
I also want to see that. Opinion poll. Last Epoch needs this most. Last place. Finish campaign chapters at 8%.
Why is that number 1?
No, that's last place.
Oh, that's last.
Hold on. Last place. Finish campaign chapters at 8%. 4th place. Performance improvements 15%. 3rd place. New Endgame systems at 20%. 2nd place, last 3 mastery classes at 28%. And coming in, number 1, which is what I thought it would. Multiplayer, 943 votes, 30%. Multiplayer, beating out last 3 mastery classes by 2%. By 2%.
2%, not 20.
2%.
So I have I voted with Daft on the mastery classes.
I voted for multiplayer.
Of course you did. Whatever. I'm gonna paint my reasoning.
What's up, Coma?
What does multiplayer matter if the game's not finished?
See, it's also unfair because I know some things that are coming with multiplayer. So like in my head, it's like, I'm not just getting multiplayer, I'm getting 09, which is going to have lots of other great stuff
Other
with
things.
it, right? So if the next update wasn't...
The question wasn't about 09, it was about multiplayer specifically.
But I know I can't get that stuff until multiplayer.
That's that. It doesn't count.
I'm actually cheating.
That the question was specifically to that one part of 09.
Lady Medusa says second place people are right. I think that's what it is.
Lady Medusa be correct. I'm what does multiplayer matter if you are missing 3 of your mastery classes? Like the game's
Right.
not finished. That's why I went with what the vote I went. It's like finish your game, then make it multiplayer.
Mine was based off the balance concept. You have to rebalance everything again. So multiplayer with rebalance is
Yeah. Finish your game. Get everything finished and balanced, and then do the multiplayer.
But I'm not
disagree.
making the decisions. So
I've never created a game. I know it's super hard. I know it's time consuming. I know there's good studios and bad studios, and
Studios that try.
and ones that don't care about making a great game and care about money and a bunch of other stuff. This is what I will tell you.
Looking at you, Blizzard.
It's a great feeling when you are working with or communicating with the studio and they openly can admit, hey, our number one mistake was this game should have launched as a multiplayer game. We should have been building it multiplayer from day one instead of making a great single player game and trying to then correct that mistake and making it multiplayer. And it cost them years.
Years.
It cost them
Their
years.
defense,
But it's
they would not have had. What? Go on.
It's
Sorry.
weird hearing that from a studio because normally it's like the CEO of Blizzard stands by Diablo Immortal's monetization system. They can play 95% of combat of a great Diablo experience for free. And we stand by our over 100 million in sales in 2 weeks to screw people over. Like,
Right.
it's
All
nice feeling the opposite.
The fact is, when they started, they were probably in Unity 4 or 5. To put it in perspective, they don't go by 4 or 5 anymore. They went straight into the years. Those Unity 4 and 5 offered a peer-to-peer built-in multiplayer, and I don't know how well this would work on peer-to-peer. You really do need authoritative servers for this. They would,
And that's what they're doing.
They would, well, now, but they wouldn't have the funds to do it then. On
They
a
had
massive
to.
scale.
They have to make the trading. They have to make. They got to get the authoritative
Right.
servers. You remember their communication? We got to figure out chat. We got to figure out global chat. We got to figure out languages. We got to figure out login. We got to figure out queue. We got to figure out servers. Who can someone in Australia play it like with this person? Like, got to figure out
Right.
balancing. Got to figure out performance. You got to figure out. One person is in the same group and they're in campaign act 1 and the other person's level 100. Can they play together? What does that balancing look like? Can they get rushed through? There's this just mountain of questions and problems.
Yes, there is.
And
so you can test the balancing on characters interacting in a multiplayer with peer-to-peer to see how fast they go through if you're on like LAN or something. That will mitigate the ping effect, and the real issue to going on authoritative servers is these people are not. They have to somehow sync this the best that is possible.
Right.
So you have balancing as far as the actual game balance, multiplayer, which can be done in-house. Then you have to balance it, like Aaron said, someone in Australia, New Zealand, Singapore. What's the delay on these things? That rubber banding can ruin a game.
it feels like there's so
obviously.
much to screw up. Like there's
yes.
there's so
That's why
much.
they've been so cautious.
They have
That's
been
why-
very cautious.
there's a specific like team for major studios that handle that. And it's not like an insignificant team. It's like it's a major portion of these games.
But could you imagine 09 drops somehow against all odds and what we've come to know, it actually drops even remotely stable, right? So it functions how they want it to function. And we get all the new art in game. We get the new balance in game. We get potentially new skills. We get all the new assets, right? You get all the new uniques. You get tweaks to the existing endgame system. You know, dungeons, all that stuff. I mean, game's almost ready. I mean, like, right? Like,
they're right around the corner, but that corner is a long corner right now. It feels like.
Yeah, but okay.
So many things they got to check.
We know what we want. We have to wait for what they give us.
So they've also said that they don't know if the campaign will, like a finished campaign, will launch at 1.0. You know, like.
Well,
and I don't think people, and I don't think people will care.
Obviously, no one cares about that.
No one cares.
Or
I
a
know
small
that
portion.
too.
A small portion.
Like, I feel bad for their lore master.
It's like,
yeah.
Kyle, I think his name's
Because
Kyle.
I'm openly saying I don't care.
Oh,
I
Kyle.
feel really bad because I kind of do.
Do devs have access to massive bandwidth that is part of the infrastructure, or do they usually rent from established servers from third party? That's a question for Guilty. I know they talked about how they found the right servers to use. I think they rent them, right?
They don't have their own servers. They're paying a server farm for space. So, have you guys ever watched, was it Silicon Valley, for instance, when they finally got a server and they're like, here you are. And it's like this like little 19-inch rack unit, like a 3x3, like a 3U rack unit. They might have a 3U rack unit in a server farm somewhere in like, you know, Montana or something, wherever they're at. Yeah. Like, or like 2 3U rack units. Who knows? Whatever they got, whatever Tencent paid them to have.
Daft. Daft,
big,
go ahead and
servers.
read Lizard Man's comment, and I'll give an answer.
All right. Is the multiplayer update going to allow us to carry items into the actual game when it is officially dropped?
I'm referring to multiplayer gear acquired before the actual game launches. Oh man, I get this question so often, and I hate giving the answer.
But no.
I hate giving the answer because it's so people get so upset. So
yeah, it's expected though. I mean,
okay, so listen. Here's how it is. I got this, Guilty. Here's how it is.
Oh, I'm just laughing.
Everything you're doing right now is going to be offline, saved on your computer.
Right.
Once 09 launches, let's say November, October, everybody starts over. We're now on authoritative servers. We are no longer saving on our local PC. Yeah. You go to your buddies and log in. You're at your computer, you log in. You go to your laptop, you go to the different room. It's not saved on your computer. You could access your game from anywhere, just like any other game. Everyone starts over. Now, when the game officially launches 1.0, that will likely be day one of cycle one. Think of a PoE league. When a PoE league starts, everybody's a fresh start. So then your items that you have acquired during 091, 092, all that would be in a standard league, but then you'd be starting.
But it makes sense to me. I mean,
yes.
I have gear that I've been in Aaron, but it's 4 years old. Well, some of it actually got, when they did an update, it got erased, but at least 2 years old now of gear that I've been collecting. It wouldn't be fair for me to be like,
Aaron, you remember the gear you had that had more suffixes than it was supposed to?
I still have it.
I
still have it.
Exactly.
I've got a couple pair of gear. I have a couple gloves that have like tier 6 mana regen.
Right.
You can't get mana regen on gloves.
Old
Like
school,
I have,
yeah,
I've got some old stuff.
Relics, the old relics too.
I realized though that some of that stuff like jacks up the game. I don't know why.
Big time.
So like,
yes,
I actually started deleting some of it, but yeah, I got some old stuff still. Got some old stuff.
Blizzardman asking about seasons.
It will
They're not
have
called
something
seasons.
similar. To
It will be
season.
called
It'll be a cycle.
cycles.
Cycles.
So
Yeah.
Diablo has seasons, PoE has leagues, Last Epoch has cycles.
Yeah, so
cycles.
that
It'll
is a
probably
thing they're
be
working
very
with.
similar.
It'll have cycles.
So they might introduce new content through that. That might be their
Dude,
focus,
thinking
you know?
about a Last Epoch cycle based upon what they've shown us they could do on like a 084 while
Right.
working on art, while working on multiplayer. Like imagine everything's done and now they can only focus on that new cycle. I bet it's gonna be some pretty cool stuff.
I mean, it could
Cool
be really
stuff.
awesome.
It could be really great. You know how long the
Thinking
cycle
about-
is. I think is a big deal too. What do you guys
Yes.
think? 4
Thinking
months?
about
3 months?
like the cycles between the three. I think 13 weeks. It's 13 weeks for Path of Exile.
It's
I think so,
it's
roughly.
quarterly, so whatever. It's for a year, right?
I think 13 weeks. I
They
could
aren't
be wrong.
as long as a quarter, but I think it roughly ends up being about 4 a year.
Yes, they try to.
And you know what they do, right?
I'm
It's
sure it
like
doesn't
it's like
always do that.
it's like AMD. AMD is like has this system where they always have two teams. So they have the team designing, the next launch, and then they have the team
Right.
designing, and they're working in tandem, right? So then when the one team launches their product, that one moves down, then that team leapfrogs, and then they're always a step ahead. So they have constant new every 2 years a CPU in the works. Like you could already learn about their new 5 nanometer chips that are coming out in 2
That's
years
crazy.
because they're
Right.
already been in production for a year, even though these new ones, the 7000 series, we're getting. Anyways,
I mean,
probably a bad analogy. I
5
could have just
nanometer, nuts.
the new even though it sucks because I'm building a new computer with this generation, but supposedly the next generation is going to be like the biggest leap from their 7008.
Well,
Anyways,
technically, this current generation for GPU was the biggest leap. They're going to say that from here on out.
yeah. So that's what Last Epoch does, that's what PoE does. They have two teams. So Grinding Gear Games always has two teams working on two leagues so that they can leapfrog each other so that they always have consistent content. I mean,
And
it's
Smart.
super
Smart.
smart.
as all sin. You got
They-
your
they
lead
should be
team,
doing
and then your team that just follows up and kind of cleans up the messes, and then continues it, and then the next team develops, and they just the second team's learning from the first team, so it's a great system.
Yeah, it's a really, really good system. So, okay, great poll.
Wow.
We have never
Yeah.
talked an hour and 23 minutes on the poll. That's
a
supposed to be
poll.
segment 1 to intro the podcast.
But hey,
Well,
But
it was
Guilty
a good
loves the
subject.
game so much he couldn't stop talking tonight.
That is not a fact.
400%.
But I do like talking about design.
And there we are, and that's kind of where we were ish.
But we were, we
were in
talked
the-
about Path of Exile's new league a few times there.
We have to touch on at the end of this podcast Tempest Rising.
Oh, buddy.
Guilty,
Yeah.
do you think you could beat me? I'm going to just start with that.
Wow. Straight.
Well, yes.
I'm pretty good at RTS, and I'm one of those annoying guys too that'll like send out scouts everywhere, and I'll like
my worst
You
enemy.
mean
I'll-
what you're supposed to do?
no, I mean like I'll like attack you a little bit and then retreat, so then like you're like, what happened? Like I'm one of those like annoying. I'm not gonna
Build
let
up
you.
an army.
I'm not gonna
nothing.
let you just build up until I know where you're at, and then I'm gonna like bug you.
Before we talk crap,
Just
let's
saying.
get into what the game actually is and who is A,
Yeah.
publishing it, and B, making it.
Well, I'm excited because I haven't
this-
played a Command and Conquer game for a long time.
Well, this is not a Command and Conquer game.
What?
Oh my god! It's
No.
almost
So
like
you get
THQ Nordic
nothing.
found
You
a
lose.
studio that was making a
Good
game,
day, sir.
right?
I just played You Get Nothing, You Lose, sir. I'm sorry.
All right.
Koma just asked the question, did you play Zerg? So it's actually funny. Zerg was my favorite race for a long time. And then like so many others, I switched over to Protoss. And actually, if I really
all day long.
if I really wanted to be agitating instead of doing like a Zergling rush in StarCraft, I did the ultimate annoyance, and that was the cannon rush, where you're not paying attention, and you make your next building, and the next thing you know, my cannons are already shooting you because I built them right out of range, knowing where you were going to build in the future.
Hate you.
All right. So
Ah.
back to the game at hand.
Sorry, he asked the question. Go ahead.
It's all good.
Slipgate Ironworks has developed a game which is directly confronting the fact that EA gave us a phone game. Let's just put it into perspective.
Right.
And it pissed off everybody, and they were like, "Hold my beer! I'm going to do your job better than you," which they're apparently doing.
I did pick up their they upped all the old games, so the game.
Well, it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same game. But THQ Nordic believed in them, and we love THQ Nordic. They literally works for THQ Nordic, so
yay!
Hi.
I'm looking forward to this so much.
Me too. Came out of nowhere. I mean, I'm sure it didn't if I was actually looking through the scene of RTS more in depthly, but I came across this, what was it, Monday this week?
Yeah. It was.
And the game,
we're not the only ones.
but this game is a 2023 release, I believe. So
It's coming in 2023. You're right. Correct.
Yes.
Before D4.
Okay, so the game has 3 factions, 2 of which on launch will have a campaign.
Yep.
It's going to have multiple multiplayer types of play.
Okay.
And it's gorgeous.
It does look nice.
Absolutely gorgeous.
If I can't make a Tesla tank, I can't play it.
But
It looks like you can do all kinds of stuff. I'm seeing laser beams. I'm seeing planes flying over, whatever the future has for an A10 Warthog. It looks like chaos.
Now I'm curious because kind of modern RTS, you can like zoom all the way down,
right,
almost to like third person, and watch the combat. Which is like terrible if you're actually like into the strategy game, because you should be doing 100 things at once. But anyways,
you can get glimpses. You can get glimpses.
Like that's I've always thought that's really cool. I thought that's
that is cool. I like that. Where you can attach to a unit, or at least something along those lines, where you're right in the mix.
I mean, again, the last RTS I really played was Dawn of War. I thought they did such a good job on the Dawn of War series.
Dawn of War is great.
Pretty good.
Awesome.
Pretty good.
Question. Have you watched all of the there's not a lot out yet because they have the Steam page and then the the PC gamer release and all that stuff. Almost like the press kit that was released only to the press instead of everyone, like most people do. The cutscenes look amazing. Like that's definitely next gen. I would call that next gen quality cutscenes. The actual gameplay is super clean. The biomes themselves are diverse, forest, frozen, what looks tropical, what looks like desolate, almost desert. This game's probably going to be super gorgeous and have a lot of different visuals. You can't tell a lot because there's not a lot out there yet. But
so there is something that I'm going to send to you, Guilty, because I think you'd appreciate it. Have you seen this, or have you heard the soundtrack for the game?
Oh, it's they definitely, yes.
Did they go? Yes. I haven't heard it. Because I actually love the old school, Command and Conquer,
the march.
Bits. Yes. There's lots.
I told you. What has it been 6 months since I've been saying I need an RTS? I haven't gotten one.
Right.
But I mean, the end of this year, we are getting Company of Heroes 3, which is supposedly going to be great. And now we know in 2023, we're going to get a beta for What's the StarCraft guy? Frost Giants. What's the game? Frost Giants Studio is making it's an
We
S.
talked about it.
It's an S.
Yes.
Salamama.
It's not Starforge.
Okay, it's not. Yeah.
Samana.
It's
No.
kind of a generic.
So to put it in perspective, Angry Joe had the same problem, and he referred to it as Stargate. So
It,
Frana.
you can't call it
it's-
Stargate because that's under
Right. It's just got a kind of like generic
Stormgate!
name that doesn't- There it is.
Yes.
Storm.
It
I
doesn't
told you it
look
was
as-
Solana.
No, Stormgate is what it is. It does not look as pretty as this game.
No salami.
I would rather play this game over Stormgate.
Point being is at least within a calendar year, we will have Stormgate in a beta form. We will have fully released Company of Heroes 3 and fully released Tempest Rising. So at least in a calendar year, 3 new RTS,
Relatively known, promising.
and I think 2 of them, because I don't know anything about Tempest Rising wanting to be like esports, but I believe Company Heroes 3 and Stormgate both want to be like balanced enough for esports.
Esport.
Maybe.
Watch this one.
Maybe.
So THQ Nordic does not just pick up crap.
Hey, what's going on, X? How you doing, bud?
Hey, Xathius.
Hey, Xathius. I really think them getting involved, because the stuff they've done, most of it, if not all of it, there's a customer for it. Definitely.
Right.
Them getting onto a game of this style in this year means this game's good. That's just my opinion. They wouldn't have, like, there are a lot of people trying to do RTS. It has to be really good
I think we have
for
all
someone
the
like them to get it.
the old heads who grew up playing them, kind of noticing it in the last few years, at least. Like, hey, we need something else to kind of like fill in the blanks. It's been a while, as we all know.
We're over 90 minutes. I'm going to give the final words right now. Okay.
All right.
It's my turn. Blizzard Entertainment, our favorite, came out publicly
Not back.
and said RTS is basically dead. They didn't actually
Because
use.
they are dumb.
They didn't actually use those words, so don't sue me, Blizzard. I don't have that much money. But listen,
No, Blizzard, I hate you.
Blizzard Entertainment came out and said there's no money in RTS. We are stopping development of StarCraft 2,
Because
and
it's
we are
not a Halo.
and there will not be a StarCraft 3.
Because
And-
they're stupid.
And when that happened, a lot of people said RTS is dead. Young generation does not play it. There's not a way to monetize it where you can make a ton of money through a battle pass or through skins. Like, that is not how the game works. And the
Until
old school
college.
people said no. They said, we are going to make it happen. We don't care what Blizzard says. And I'm
Aaron,
hoping
What do colleges have now?
they have.
What do colleges have now that's sponsored by and receives, I guess technically it's government funding because it's at a state school?
They have education.
They have esports leagues.
They do.
Oh my god.
That is true.
Come at
This
me,
is
Blizzard.
true.
I don't like you.
That is
But,
true.
Yeah, esports is, a good place for RTS to thrive if they're gonna try to get in the niche market, because you're not really getting people buying MTXs. Really, it's not that market.
Point being is it's not dead. Even though I haven't
No,
played,
it's
even though
not.
I haven't played one in a long time,
There
Slumbering.
hasn't been a new one.
but I want to.
But,
Esports
yes, I
Diablo
agree.
Immortal.
They're fun.
I can't believe I read that out loud.
Oh,
That's
they're
the
same
podcast. Thanks, Lady Medusa. All right, everybody. So, as always, thanks for coming out. If you missed any part of this, I will get this on YouTube tomorrow. We're going to be moving over to our Patreons only bonus hour If you want to join the Patreon, I would really appreciate it. We do the weekly bonus hour, weekly blog post, access to the VIP lounge in the Discord, special title, and lots of other bonuses depending on where you sign up. It is the best way to support the channel into the future financially. 6 different levels available, so if you think you could give, we would really appreciate it. But of course, only if you think we deserve it. That's all we've got. And by the way, in the bonus hour, I believe we have some questions we need to answer that the Patreons have told us we need to answer. So
They have spoken.
They have spoken. I know a few of them might be excited and happy with the responses. So that's all I've got. I said I got the final word. I'm going to give it to Guilty. When you're done talking, I'm going to hit the button. Go ahead.
Good night, everybody.